Great. Well, thank you, Director Khader. It was certainly a wonderful presentation and a great, I think, platform to address many of these global issues that can impact us multilaterally on so many different levels. So in terms of the discussion, I'm sure there are many issues, of course, that were brought up throughout the presentation, but are there any questions or opportunities for expansion on these issues? Yes, please.
In terms of global government, it's a wonderful idea, and I'd like to see the Constitution for that, because what if a rogue government gets into control? That's a great fear.
There would be representation in the government from all the countries of the world. In fact, I can read a quote. I had prepared some things here. Okay, so Sri Sarkar envisioned world government developing in phases. This is a step-by-step approach would give people time to psychologically adjust to the new system. He said, quote, divergent national interests and popular skepticism may stand in the way of the formation of a world government. To allay baseless fears from the minds of people, this task should be carried out step by step. Obstacles will have to be negotiated with an open mind, and the world government will have to be strengthened gradually, not suddenly. So it's a very gradual process. He believed that world government would help materialize universalism. He said, quote, those who are eager to establish peace should shake off nationalism and other allied isms. If we are to shake off these isms, we have to organize a universal body and go on strengthening its power. This will be the first phase in establishing a world government. So it's a confederation made up of all the federated states of the world. There's an emergence of these socioeconomic units that I talked about. In other words, there would be subunits of federated countries as opposed to the current politically based subunits. And then the third feature is the concept of boards operating at different levels of government. And then it goes on. There's much to read, and I'll be very happy to share with you. So the title of the book, which is coming out in 2023, A Proposal for a World Constitution Based on the Works of Sri Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar. And it's being published by Craig Runde, R-U-N-D-E. And then there's also a discussion about the global commons. And that refers to areas in the world that are not within the jurisdiction of any of the federated states. It's very interesting. So the first part of this Constitution is to safeguard, is to prevent the destruction of flora and fauna. It's very interesting. And the second right in this charter is each country must guarantee the purchasing power to all the citizens of the world. In other words, everyone has the right to a living wage job. And this is an area where we don't have in the United States Constitution. You have the right to free speech, you have the right to assemble, you have the right to protest, but you do not have the right to be meaningfully employed. You can be poor, you can be unhoused, you can be homeless, you can not have any access to medical care, but you can shout in the street about it. You have the right to be free in that way. So Sri Sarkar said, no, people should be guaranteed the right to a livelihood. It's not a handout. You know, we hear from conservatives, what are you doing just giving money, it's not handouts, because you want to encourage people to develop their talents, their skills, their expertise in areas that they're passionate about. But there must be guarantees for the basic minimum necessities of life. And that, by the way, the South African Constitution was influenced by Sri Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, because the work was being done in South Africa, and if you look at the South African Constitution, they adopted his ideals of guaranteeing economic rights. Whether they're being implemented, that's a whole nother question. But they made the step of having it in the Constitution of South Africa. And I'm not sure of other constitutions around the world that include economic rights as part of their constitution, their bodies of law. So, yes.
I think the topic you presented is beyond a complex topic. I'm from the engineering background, and in computer science there is an issue of having an algorithm that can solve world conflicts. That means can come up with the peace, like what algorithm can be used. So far, that has not been in any of the minds of all these great computer scientists. But thinking about your presentation, if you look into the formation of like the world structure that exists right now, and one of the things that you mentioned, you said you want to like break the isms that should not exist. But the trend that exists right now and the structure of the world does not promote or support any of those. For example, like we have here, it's a great organization, I think I pronounced it right, a great organization that can promote world peace and the culture of peace. But you look into it, I don't want to kind of like categorize anybody, but you won't see the billionaires are here. Billionaires will be at the G7, and then you have these other categories of meeting where you have the poor and the alike at that level. So I think one of the major division is what you mentioned, inequity in wealth. That's a major division that is there. I am sure this has been in ages happening, that those who have, they like to maintain and they like to keep that status quo. They wouldn't like to give in into that. And then you have some who choose to take another approach, and those who don't have, they usually continue to struggle. That's why, like, you have all these years that have, centuries have passed, then you have the rich places and the poor places. And this has been fluctuating slightly, but the trend has been going on because there have not been any, there have been effort, but they have not been fruitful to break that, that global divide of haves and have-nots. It is just a matter of like politics that those who have, they try to sugarcoat what is out there to make those who have not feel like they are included, but in reality, they are not included into it. So I think one of those theoretical suggestions would be first to kind of like break that have and have not, and or at least diversify. That when these G7s are meeting, and I don't know how we would do that and get it, yeah, you get also organizations such as ICERM at its position to inject the philosophy that we want the culture of peace. We want the world peace. And we see some of the problems of the world peace is because you who have, you don't want to give in. Those who don't have, they have no way to get it. And this border has been built, even though it's imaginary, but it exists. So as I said at the beginning, I think the concept that you presented is more than complex, but these are just some of the issues that I see that are there. And if there's anything to think about globally, it has to be looked around that. I don't think the world government as per se could be a solution, because it will be the same structure. The haves who stay on top of those world governments have not, they are down there somewhere. The have will dictate what has to be done, have not will stay there. Even the universal income that you mentioned. I was very interested to learn about the universal income and see how it works and how it processes. The same thing will happen. You will have the universal income, and there's even other phrases that are added into that universal income. Some books have suggested that in the future, you will have useful people and useless people. Useful people, I mean, I'm using derogatory terms, but that's how you present it. That the useful people will be the ones who are producing and those haves, and they can do whatever they want. And then you have the useless people, then you give them universal income, and then they just survive with that. The division is still there. But I think the best approach will be like to get into the core of the major divide, which is the, I think, the inequity in income or wealth, inequity in wealth. That should be the part that should be first dismantled, and then kind of like the world should not be the dictating term of the world peace and world order. That's just
Thank you. That's excellent comments. Just one quick thing, because we might be out of time, right? The first principle of progressive utilization theory is that no individual will be able to accumulate private wealth without clear permission from the collective body. So there are actually limits placed on private wealth accumulation, which is probably the leading cause of why we have so much wealth disparity in an economic system currently that promotes profit maximization, that promotes private wealth accumulation, that's rigged in favor of those who are already rich to become even richer. So just to let you know, this first principle of this socioeconomic paradigm is to place limits on private wealth accumulation, which will not be easy to implement. Will not be easy to implement, and we want to do it in as benevolent a manner as possible, without bloodshed, without trampling on people's rights. It's a big challenge, and I think everyone here knows we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. But with the collective wisdom, we will be able to solve these problems. So thank you so much, and